Atlanta's night was meant to stay peaceful, but at 3 a.m., that silence was shattered by devastating news. No parent should ever have to experience what came next. King Harris, the son of rap icons T.I. and Tiny, was fighting for his life in the ICU. His fragile body was hooked up to machines, each heartbeat growing weaker, slipping further away. Doctors whispered the chilling words no family ever wants to hear: prepare for the worst. The Harris family's nightmare had only just begun. And under the harsh fluorescent lights of Grady Memorial, the hip-hop world froze in fear. Alarms blared. Doctors rushed in as chaos consumed the room, desperately trying to pull King back from the edge. Open up the door to my bedroom, as you shouldn't have to either. Open up the door to my bedroom for everybody to come in and chime in and make their opinions about what we do and don't do, or should or shouldn't do. But I will say this, whatever we have ever done, it's been done with consent. This wasn't just a medical emergency, it looked like a real-life horror movie. With every leak, every rumor, every shocking update detonating across the internet, the pain only grew louder. Tiny, King's mother, broke down in the hospital hallway, her screams echoing through the corridors as nurses struggled to hold her up. That gut-wrenching collapse was caught on camera and spread like wildfire across social media, leaving millions of fans in tears. Hashtags like #PrayForKing and #JusticeForKing Harris skyrocketed to the top of worldwide trends within minutes. But then, the story took a darker, more sinister turn. A leaked medical report suggested King's injuries weren't from some random jailhouse fight. Insiders claimed his body showed signs of something far more calculated: marks of torture. Cuts and bruises that were too precise, too cruel, too deliberate to come from ordinary violence. This wasn't just a beating. It was a message. Someone wanted King destroyed, maybe even erased entirely. And then came the leak that froze the nation in its tracks. An eerie audio clip emerged, a prison guard's voice, whispering through static. The order came from above. We just cleared the way. That single line sent the entire internet into chaos. Who gave the order? Who wanted King silenced so badly that his beating looked like a staged execution? Fans, bloggers, and conspiracy theorists pointed fingers everywhere, from rival gangs to old industry enemies to powerful figures. Deep within politics and the prison system itself, whispers grew louder, suggesting this wasn't even about King, it was about taking down the entire Harris family once and for all. His arrest isn't really the shock, one insider said. It's how he's reacting after. Everyone's saying, King, you grew up privileged, man. Why are you choosing this path? Now he's out here saying, F the police, F12. It's like he doesn't care anymore. But just when it seemed things couldn't possibly get darker, another bombshell dropped online. A supposed IQ CCTV clip surfaced, allegedly showing masked men sneaking into King's hospital room in the dead of night, tampering with his life support machines. If that footage is authentic, it means King wasn't even safe inside the hospital. Surrounded by doctors, unseen forces, bigger and darker than anyone ever imagined, were still moving against him. He needed to walk off, take a moment to himself, sit quietly, process everything, and figure out his next move, but they wanted him gone. Outside, Atlanta was burning with unrest. Protesters, fans, and family members flooded the streets, candles flickering in the cold night air as voices rose together, chanting, "Protect King." Some prayed with trembling hands, while others shouted for justice until their throats ran dry. Grief and anger collided, creating a storm of emotion the city hadn't felt in years. Inside the hospital, T.I. looked like a shell of the man the world once knew. The confident superstar was gone, and his place stood a father broken and pacing the sterile halls. You know what I'm saying? The thing about reality. It's all real, it's all natural, but some things are, you know what I'm saying? Some things are needed for the climax, for the rise, he muttered. Barely keeping his composure, his hands trembled. His voice cracked as he turned to the cameras and pleaded. My son is being targeted like he's some kind of enemy. He's just a kid. Please. Someone stop this madness. That raw, emotional cry went viral within minutes. Waves of compassion poured in from fans, but so did cold, ruthless comments from others, claiming it was karma for T.I.'s past. The internet instantly split in half, one side standing firmly with the Harris family, the other mocking their pain. turning their private tragedy into a worldwide spectacle. Then came the footage. No one was ready to see. An anonymous source claimed to have leaked CCTV footage from inside the hospital. It allegedly showed two hooded figures slipping into King's ICU room around 2:47 a.m., one crouching near his bed while the other kept watch by the door. The clip ended before showing what happened next, but its implications were horrifying. Someone, it seemed, was deliberately sabotaging King's recovery. Nurses whispered about strange outside interference, saying even within hospital walls, King wasn't truly safe. One whistleblower nurse came forward, revealing that King's ventilator had mysteriously shut off for several seconds earlier that night, right before the alarms went off, and that the footage of that exact moment had disappeared from hospital records. Was it a coincidence or a calculated cover-up? No one could say for sure, but the internet erupted. Accusations flew, pointing fingers at powerful people believed to be erasing evidence and silencing King for good. Meanwhile, the Harris family's agony unfolded in front of the entire world. Tiny was filmed outside the ICU doors, sobbing so uncontrollably she nearly collapsed, crying out, "Don't take my baby. Don't take him from me." That desperate cry shattered millions of hearts. The clip flooded TikTok and Instagram, replayed endlessly until it felt etched into everyone's minds. T.I., unable to contain his fury, allegedly exploded, punching walls, yelling at doctors, and accusing the hospital of hiding the truth, of covering up what he believed was murder. Witnesses described his rage as so violent that security had to intervene after he smashed a chair across the floored out. Those images spread like wildfire, showing not just a grieving father fighting for his son's life, but a man going to war against a system he believed was trying to erase him entirely. Then the story took an even darker, more chilling twist. Leaked whispers began to circulate. King's blood had reportedly tested positive for foreign toxins, substances that had no connection to the alleged jail beating and were nowhere near his prescribed medications. The horrifying thoughts spread like wildfire. Someone was poisoning him inside the hospital. Soon after, hacker groups jumped into the chaos, posting what they claimed were stolen hospital files, along with one terrifying line: "They're not saving King, they're finishing him." Outrage erupted across the world. Fans refused to believe this was just a random act of violence. They were convinced it was a targeted attack orchestrated by powerful forces working in the shadows. Outside the hospital, protests spiraled out of control. Demonstrators clashed with riot police guarding the hospital's entrance. Tear gas filled the air as Atlanta's streets descended into chaos. A full-blown war zone, social media exploded with live streams capturing every fiery moment. Thousands of viewers watching in real time as fury and heartbreak ignited across the city. By sunrise, it was clear this wasn't just about one teenager fighting for his life anymore. It had transformed into a global war of narratives. Some claimed King was paying for the sins of his father. Others insisted it was part of a massive industry conspiracy, a calculated move to silence him before he could reveal secrets too dangerous for the world to hear. Every rumor, every leak, every desperate scream from the ICU blurred the truth even more, leaving millions gasping for clarity. But one fact stood painfully clear: King Harris was trapped in a storm far greater than himself. A storm powerful enough to destroy not just his family, but shake the entire music industry to its core. As dawn crept over Atlanta, the nightmare deepened. King's condition slipped from critical but stable to something even more terrifying. Doctors whispered about organ failure while nurses rushed from room to room, carrying trays filled with emergency medication. Each sharp beat from the machines attached to his fragile body hit his family like a hammer, relentless. Devastating. At 5 a.m., T.I. and Tiny were called into a private room, and there, they heard the words no parent should ever be forced to face. "If we don't see improvement soon, we may have to discuss letting him go." That single line shattered the Harris family like glass. Tiny collapsed, screaming so loud that hospital staff said her cries echoed through the entire floor. Witnesses claimed she fainted and had to be treated on the spot. Soon, a secret recording of that exact breakdown leaked online, flooding millions of social media feeds and turning timelines into rivers of tears. Viewers didn't just see grief, they felt it, raw and unfiltered. as if the whole world was watching a mother lose her soul in real time. But just when it seemed nothing could get worse, another confidential report surfaced. This one claimed that King's bloodstream contained traces of a mysterious substance, one that didn't match any medication given by his doctors. Analysts quickly ruled out common drugs, suggesting this wasn't an accident, it was sabotage. Someone had allegedly tampered with his fourth line, slipping poison into his veins while he lay helpless in that hospital bed. That revelation exploded online, sparking hashtags like #ICUBreach and #ProtectKingHarris. As millions demanded answers, how could the son of one of hip-hop's biggest legends, a high-profile patient in one of Atlanta's top hospitals, be left so vulnerable? People asked across every platform, and within hours, anonymous accounts dropped yet another alleged video, a supposed CCTV clip showing two hooded figures sneaking into King's ICU room in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, the hospital had turned into something resembling a fortress. Security was tripled after protesters tried to storm the entrance. Police in full riot gear surrounded the perimeter, and the entire building looked less like a place of healing and more like a war zone, with King Harris's fragile life at the center of it all. Inside, doctors grew more desperate by the hour. Whispers of terrifying phrases like multi-organ failure and irreversible damage filled the sterile halls, cold medical words that shattered the Harris family's hearts. One insider claimed, "I completely lost control, punching walls and yelling at doctors, screaming, 'Don't tell me to let go. You're lying. You're not doing enough.'" His fury reportedly terrified staff and patients alike, but it also revealed the depth of his pain, the anguish of a father watching his child slip away. Meanwhile, Tiny clutched King's hands so tightly that nurses had to pull her back, her knuckles white with fear. Neither parent moved an inch from his bedside, even as doctors warned that the next few hours would determine everything. By morning, social media was flooded with unverified leaks, each one darker than the last. The most shocking of all claimed that King had been declared clinically dead for nearly 2 minutes, before doctors used electric paddles to shock his heart back to life. If that were true, it meant the Harris family had already witnessed their son die once, only to see him dragged back from the brink. That revelation sent the internet into a frenzy. Fans broke down in tears at the thought of a mother watching her child fade away in real time, and many began to wonder if someone was deliberately keeping King trapped between life and death. By noon, what had started as a private tragedy had erupted into a full-blown global scandal. Outside the hospital, the crowd swelled from hundreds to thousands. Protesters cried louder, chanted harder, and demanded justice as helicopters roared overhead. Atlanta looked like a city under siege. Inside, T.I. and Tiny refused to leave their son's side even as his fragile body continued to fail. Doctors gave him the same soul-crushing warning again: prepare for the worst. When that phrase leaked, it spread online instantly. The hashtag prepare for King shot to the top of worldwide trends, with millions of fans posting prayers, videos, and desperate pleas for a miracle. But along with those prayers came darker suspicions. People insisted this wasn't just fate, it was planned. A carefully executed plot by powerful forces determined to finish what had started inside that jail cell. King Harris was no longer just a teenager fighting for his life. He had become the centerpiece of one of the darkest and most explosive sagas the rap world had ever witnessed. By nightfall, Atlanta was on edge. Grady Memorial Hospital looked like a battlefield. Riot police blocked every entrance, helicopters circled low, and thousands of fans filled the streets holding candles and signs, chanting justice for King. The world wasn't merely watching anymore, it was demanding answers. Inside, the air felt suffocating. King's condition plummeted to its lowest point, lungs failing, kidneys shutting down, every hour dragging him closer to the edge. Doctors whispered the most devastating words a family could ever hear: prepare for the worst. When those words leaked again, they ripped through the internet like lightning, fueling a tidal wave of panic so overwhelming that hashtag prepare for King once again soared to the top of global trends. The entire culture shook to its core, and now the world watched every second as the chaos continued to unfold.